All right, and we're back. After a very disappointing loss to the Minnesota Vikings, your Dallas Cowboys unfortunately lose to them 34-26, and now our playoff chances are probably gone, but they'll give us the 1% chance. If you don't know already, I'm Slater. This is Mike, and we're the Cowboys game plan. We've been doing this our first season in, and what a roller coaster it's been for us as we're now media content creators, and now we have to figure out what our off-season plan is going to be. It came a lot sooner than we expected, but here we are. So, Mike, I'll give you the floor, man. Kind of kick us off, man. Give us some maybe hope and optimism for our fans, or maybe some negative thoughts. Where were we at? Where are we at now?
Well, I mean, it was definitely unexpected. Anytime you play a team that's just, I mean, I guess they're desperate, but I'm not surprised we lost this game. It's a really good offensive minded head coach over there. I didn't expect them to be able to just run through us quite so easily. I
Yeah.
knew they would be a challenge. I definitely knew our offense would be slowed down an exceptional defensive coordinator, but I didn't expect this loss. Not surprised by it. On the other hand, there's good and bad in this. Do I want the team to be successful and go to the playoffs? Sure. But it's a 50-50 game with our Cowboys right now. So even if they did somehow make it to the playoffs, all it's going to prove is that we're a one and done team again. So I'd rather
Yep.
just, if we're going to do anything, I'd rather just miss the postseason and fix the team. Now, to answer a part of the question, hope and optimism is the just to put the playoffs idea to bed, is the only way for us to get into the playoffs now a win out plus an Eagles lose out. Is that the only way we make the playoffs?
Pretty much. I mean, when you're looking at the playoff picture, everyone's about at 9 or 10 wins, and obviously with what we got 3 games left. I mean, the best we can do is 9 wins. So all those wild card spots are probably going to be taken up. And even if you got a chance at a 7 seed wild card spot, you got teams that have tiebreakers over you: the Carolina Panthers, the Detroit
Yeah,
Lions,
yeah.
Chicago Bears.
All but dead. Okay,
Yeah.
so optimism. And one of the things I was mentioning before we started talking today is I have some ideas on some future content for us to
Yeah, man.
discuss. But I think for the most part, with the remaining 3 games, I think we should just do evaluations. You do yours and I do mine, and let's
Okay.
just think on the next 3 games that we get to see. Let's take a look at every position, every player on the roster in the depth chart, and just see who on this team is of value, who's a contributor, who do we want back next year? Because we've got to make some changes. I
Yeah.
feel like we can say that the offense is pretty safe. Not to give Shoddy a pass on this, but I don't know if you saw this or not. Did you go back and watch highlights or game film or anything?
I did watch a little bit of game film. Probably got too mad after about the second quarter, but I need to finish that out. But I did watch highlights at least.
Did you see when uh Shoddy called the timeout and
The
was
Eberflus
pissed
cuss
off?
out.
Yeah, okay, so you did
Yeah.
see that, yeah. Um, that's a good sign.
Yes. Culture wise, I totally agree. Like for
Because
what you're trying to develop.
yeah, that is a good sign that he's like, what the fuck are we doing? As an offensive coordinator, when a defense is lined up in a way that's going to defend your play call well or not. It's good that
Mhm.
Shoddy recognizes that, one, and then it's two that he actually put his foot down and did something about it, and then also walked past Matt Eberflus. He didn't look at him, but he walked right past him and said what he said, and it was pretty clear who that was directed to.
Yeah.
That bodes well for me. Um, how do you feel about it, Matt Eberflus? Is this something that, obviously, the talent has got to get better on defense? That's not a question. But do we blame the defense talent or do we blame the scheme more? What's the more immediate problem?
Well, I had prepared this for us already, but before I give you my answer, but let me give you this first, okay? So
Sure.
this is what Jerry Jones had said about the whole Matt Eberflus situation, right? We already saw Scheinheimer, like you said, cussing him out, not directly, not looking at him directly doing it, but like what is going on during the game.
Right. We know where that was
Well,
targeted.
I got two quotes from you. One is from John Machota from his athletic report, and then one's from 105.3 The Fan. Jerry says, candidly, just to be upfront about it, I think if we could have gotten this defense in better shape earlier, that we could be sitting here with the kind of wins that we would have not had us in this tight spot. Obviously, I like this quote. Just quick brief, and I'll let you react to it here too after I read the second one. Jerry's admitting that he should have probably made some moves sooner. So first, we got fault by Jerry. Rare occasion here. Second one, this one's more directed towards Matt Eberflus. The adjustments that we should be making should be with this year, with these next three games in mind, Jones said. This is on 105.3 The Fan. They said, or they should not be made, and with three games left in the short time we've got to play them in, then that will impact any adjustments you make regarding coaching. The time frame we are dealing with, that is a legit question.
So basically,
So,
what he's essentially saying is if our defense had played better earlier in the year, we might have two or three of those losses flip to wins,
yep.
and we wouldn't have to be in a win desperation mode where, we're in this situation. And the other part of that is he's saying, Eberflus, you got 3 games to figure out how to make a defense work. That we he what I think everybody is asking for is you're an experienced defensive coordinator, you're an
Yep.
experienced head coach, you have a pool of talent. You should be able to have a strong enough defense that is so good at what it can do that it's very obvious of the one or two things that it cannot do, so that us as front office people can go, okay, we need to fix problem one here and problem two there in the off season. But it doesn't look like that right now.
Not
It
his.
looks like our talented guys can't even do their jobs well.
Yeah, I mean, a lot. So, and this is what a general consensus is, and I've taken to believe in it too, right? A good scheme can hide bad players,
Sure.
and a bad scheme can hide, or a bad scheme can't hide bad players. And one of the things that I'm going to relate to in this situation is we have a bad scheme, and in the secondary, you have bad players. Now, our front seven is a lot better than what it was before the trade deadline. But
Right.
here's the biggest thing. I just don't think you can survive this scheme with the secondary you have at the moment. And I'm honestly at the belief too, with the Cowboys fan base and with the coaching staff and with Schottenheimer's frustration starting to grow on camera during a game, you can't ride this train anymore. Honestly, Eberflus would have to put some crazy performance out there to where the defense holds them to ridiculous minimum stats to convince me that this should even try this again next year. He's had a full 17 game, or he will have a full 17 games to prove his defensive scheme, and it's just not working here in Dallas.
And a significant bolstering.
Yeah, and obviously there was a reason why he got fired from Chicago, right? Obviously,
Sure.
Chicago wasn't like this great defense out there either. I mean, there's just always tall tale signs, and when you hire a guy who was a former head coach to bring him back, like we did with Dan Quinn, and it worked out. It worked out great, except for in playoff games, but it worked out really well. And then you bring in Matt Eberflus thinking the same thing might happen, and it's not happening. It's not clicking. We're still one of the worst defenses in the NFL. We make average to horrible quarterbacks look like great quarterbacks. And at this point, I know there's defenses with less talent, but that are playing to a better ability. And at that point, I have to point to scheme to answer your question.
Yeah, man. And here's what I think. I'll give my candid, honest opinion. Just watching as a fan, I
Yeah.
think Eberflus is probably a very knowledgeable defensive mind and defensive coordinator. I think Eberflus is very safe. I think he
Yeah.
wants to do an old school bend but don't break, strike at the opportune moments, and just try to win by being the most resilient defense on the field. And that just does not work in the modern NFL. You have to be aggressive on defense. You have to formulate your attacks. You have to emphasize what you are good at as an NFL defense to have success anymore. And it's
Hmm.
just not going to work the style. The only way it would work in the style that he wants is if we kept him for 3 years and we concentrated specifically on the defense through draft and acquisition for those 3 years in order to build the perfect defense to do exactly what he wants to do. But
Yeah.
you look at the other, you look at, okay, this is, and we're going to talk about this. We're
Yeah.
not going to get Brian Flores, so everybody
No.
just stop thinking about that. If it's a leading defensive coordinator on another team, they're going to take a head coaching job. If they're going to take anything, they're
Yeah.
not going to take less money to come over to Dallas and be the defensive coordinator here and all the headache that comes with that. Yeah, the star is a big deal. Everybody wants to be a Cowboy at some point,
Mm.
but that's not going to happen. We made some mistakes. Getting rid of Al Harris was a mistake. Getting rid of Aiden Dirt
Yeah,
was a
man.
mistake.
Look at
Those
Al
hurt
Harris in
us. I
Chicago.
know. I can
Oh,
go. We'll talk about this. This is one of the topics we're going to talk about. I don't want to unload all
yeah.
my bullets here, but
Yeah.
I'm looking around at the defenses in the league, and there's some talented guys out there. I mean, if Al Harris wants to be a defensive coordinator, he's number one on my list. I think it's a long shot. It's probably just not something Jerry Jones would ever do. But all these guys started as defensive backs coordinators and game planners and passing game coordinators and ricketa racketa and all that, and they had to work their way up. If I had the perfect defensive coordinator in mind, it would be that gentleman over in Detroit. That's the kind of defensive coordinator I want on my Dallas Cowboys staff.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is with most defensive coordinators, it let's the way I think about it, let's look at like what we did with our offensive coordinator position with Clayton Adams, right? Clayton Adams wasn't like some like super high offensive coordinator that was coming from another team. I think when you do these kinds of hires, you just need to hire somebody who's hungry to build a reputation for themselves. That's what the guy in Detroit's doing, that DC over there. He's, Aaron
But
Glenn leaves
what caused us to hire Clayton Adams? What were we bad at that
the
he
run game.
has? Right.
Yeah.
What are we bad at in the defense?
Secondary.
We have the defensive line figured out. We can
Yeah.
make that work. They can do their job, but we need a secondary that can hold up to it, right? So we need a defensive secondary minded coach to come in and help this defense transition to that new era.
Now,
That's what we got to look for.
does it hurt? Is it going to hurt us because of you bringing in someone else and trying to learn a whole new scheme? Or does it really not matter because you're not getting anything with Eberflus, so you might as well just scratch it and restart?
That's exactly what I was thinking. It's like, okay, so here we go again. We're gonna rotate out a defensive coordinator. We're gonna bring a new guy in. Now we've got players that we've pieced together not only from our original defense, but now we've brought in some retreads and we've brought in some borroweds and we've brought in some buddies. And it's like, man, so this new coach is gonna have his hands full
Yeah.
with this roster. But again, if we leave the offense alone, get some support for the running back position, get some support for the offensive line, and I don't mean high draft picks. I just
Hmm.
mean some talent that can come in. Somebody goes down.
You don't
Do
want
not draft
a first
the
round
guard
offensive
from
tackle?
Texas or anything or Clemson or whatever. Leave them alone. We need defense. There are tons of strong defensive players coming out of this draft at every level.
I
We
know.
need three. We need three of them.
I can't wait to start breaking down some defensive
Yeah,
players.
we'll do that position by position. We'll both pick a position for the week, and
Hmm.
we'll go through our realistic options.
Wait, you're telling me I don't have the number one pick?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
But
There's a lot of gold out there, but
this
we got
is
to be realistic with who we can actually obtain.
yeah, I mean, and as the season ends too, we'll start seeing what kind of coaches are kind of up for those candidates. We could probably
Hmm.
do like a early mock candidate list on who's defensive coordinators and talk about what they kind of provide, what schemes they run, and how we see benefit us. But I don't
So
know right now exactly what we're looking for. Personally, for me, I'm looking for somebody that's kind of like that Clayton Adams, who's been very good at what we're bad at, which is the secondary. Comes in hungry, ready to do some good play calling, and he's looking to build a reputation for himself, right? And is ready to have his shot to be like I'm the guy. I can make this defense work. I mean, you got all kinds of talent across the board. You just have to find a way to have a good scheme to help players that are still developing. We don't have a bunch of like bad players. We do have bad depth around some positions, but we don't have like bad players as starters. We have a really good starting defense. The problem is our scheme is just killing us
and
and
our
making our good players look
situational stuff
bad.
is killing us. Yeah, exactly. When we
Yeah,
have to rotate another player in.
yeah.
So if in the next 3 games we hold the 3 teams to under 60 points, do you think that saves? Do you think
Heck
Eberflus?
no.
What is the likelihood that Eberflus returns? I think it's pretty high.
Really?
I really do.
Um, I don't. I don't even think. I
I
don't think
want
that.
to be wrong so bad, Slater. I
I
just have a feeling that they're
yeah.
admitting a lot if they let Eberflus or they
I
make
don't
him.
think it's going to happen because you're going to see the Cowboys struggle the last 3 games. I mean, you thought that we would have I mean, every game we think we have a fighting chance, and it's because this offense is so high powered. You're just like, defense, please just get a couple stops. Defense, please create one turnover. Defense, please just do something. Don't let them just go right back down the field and score. And the Vikings game, I thought we were taking a turn right back to the 3 game stretch we had earlier where we get pick right off the first play. We go down there and score. We do fake field goals. I'm like, man, we're really putting all the cards on the table tonight. And then guess what happens? The defense just can't stop nobody. JJ McCarthy is literally grittying in your house to your corner end zone, getting Payne Manning bootlegged again.
Yeah,
Cannot believe
I
how
don't
bad.
even see how nobody saw that coming. That is crazy.
And even those are things I'm talking about, right? And I know you can't fix everything on the field. Like Matt Eberflus can't help that Kenneth Murray is a complete. I don't know. There's nothing clicking with him right now. There's some plays where he looks really good, and the majority of the time you're getting plays that look really bad. And
It's
I
the
know you
middle of
can't.
the field, man. It's
Yeah,
that midfield. It's
it's
it's right there above the linebackers and below the safeties. That's where we've given up all the big plays. That's where we've given up the back-breaking third down conversions when we've done a good job of holding them, and then they get into a 3rd and 8 or a 3rd and 14, and there's a guy standing out there, on an island eating a sandwich, waiting for the ball to come in. It's like,
yeah.
how does that happen time and time again? You cover the guy out there, cover the guy. I mean, how do you not? I can't understand it. So it's
No,
like,
yeah.
I don't know,
But
but
that's what leads me to believe that Eberflus would have to put up like this all-time performance to even have a chance of coming back, but I don't see him coming back at all. If he were to come back, it's one thing if he's your head coach, because Jerry's very particular about, fighting with his head coach till the wheels fall off, like Mike McCarthy style. But when it comes to this defensive coordinator, I mean, if you were just planning on keeping the same guy, you should have just brought Zimmer back. I know Zimmer wasn't coming back unless it was a head coaching spot, but I don't know, dude. This is tough, and if Eberflus comes back, man, it's not good. It doesn't look good unless somehow he flips a switch.
so if Eberflus were to go and they were going to bring in, you know, a, a Jim Schwartz or something like that, how would that make you feel?
It's better. I mean, I think
You think it's
anything right.
better?
I think any kind of change in Dallas is good, in particular for me, I'm always a more like let's lean on man kind of guy than zone. I'm not
I
really a big
agree.
fan of zone defense. I like man just because one,
I like
they
having a defender on the receiver at all times.
Yeah, I would rather know that I'm poorly skilled at corner than say, well, I really don't know who's supposed to be covering that zone because Kenneth Murray's too far forward and the safety's too far back, and they're just filling the gaps. And it just seems like quarterbacks read zone defense is easier unless you're Jalen Hurts, but it's one of these things where at least in man, you can send blitzes. Everyone understands their assignment. They know what they're looking for, and then you can always drop a deep safety for coverage and have help over the top.
Yeah. No,
So.
I agree. It's a tough situation, and I just don't know that Eberflus is. I obviously don't think he's the guy for the job, but I just don't know that they're gonna see it that way.
Yeah.
That's my concern, because we're not doing anything tricky
No,
on
I mean, you're not
defense.
generating blitzes, you're not generating you're not,
No.
and the thing about Eberflus is it doesn't seem like he's trying to help the weak points. Like, you have a bad secondary, so you can't have him sit back there all day. So guess what? You have JJ McCarthy, who's a 52% pass completion guy. Send pressures on him. We're not doing it. He's not helping them. He's not generating pressures. He's not calling for pressures. He's not trying to mix it up. It just seems very bland and boring, and people know how to pick it apart. Even the worst quarterbacks to the best quarterbacks. I mean, like,
Yeah,
tell me a
when your
quarterback this
pass
year.
rush is only effective at keeping the quarterback in the pocket,
Yeah,
that's and we're really good at that. We can stop the run and we can keep the quarterback in the pocket and eventually get to him. But that takes 5 seconds.
yeah,
And in a zone defense, in 5 seconds, any quarterback of the pro level is going to be able to find a receiver to get a ball to, and
yeah,
that's literally the problem.
yeah,
So the only way you have to change the situation in order to change the outcome, and it's either risk more for a bigger reward or just throw so many guys out in secondary that he can't possibly find an open guy and just have
yeah.
3 men on the line and have guys come up to tackle if he throws underneath.
And one
You
thing
know,
that doesn't make sense to me is during that Vikings game in particular, and it's happened all year, is you get guys like Donovan Wilson or Malik Hooker or, like Chavon Ravel and all that. And I know we're trying to prove that our guys are good and all that, but they're covering Justin Jefferson. What was the point of paying Bland if you're not going to have him follow Justin Jefferson when you're in man? Or, dude, the
that's the
Vikings,
attitude that we
like,
need.
that I'm like, what are we doing? Do you think everyone else is like, oh, we're not going to put our best corner on CD or Pickens? We're just going to say whatever and just
Right.
throw whoever. No, I don't know.
That's what exactly the kind of attitude I want is we're going to put
Yeah,
our best guys on your best guys and we're going to go man up all day. We're going to chase your ass down. And if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to work for it. You're not going to be doing no gritties on a naked bootleg in our end
yeah,
zone.
it's,
And that's not what we're getting. We're getting Eber zone, very, very safe, very, very, keep it underneath, contain, no big plays, nothing, no huge big drives, scoring drive. That's the NFL is geared for the offense. You have to be disruptive
well,
in one of three ways, like
yeah,
Shepard, like Shepard over there in Detroit. If I could have any defensive coordinator, it would be him. It would then be Sala. And then if we're going to take a risk on somebody, I have a whole list. There's a few of them. Al Harris would be one. There's a couple guys in Carolina I like. There's one on the Jets. There's guys out there who are really good at secondaries, and their secondaries show up well.
yeah. And even if you're like, well, we beat the past Super Bowl champs, and we even beat the
That
Raiders
was
and all
all
that.
heart.
First off, let me put it this way: every game that we've won this year, let's not act like it hasn't been a shootout anyways, because it's not like even when you played the Chiefs and the Eagles, you blew a 21 points straight, so your defense isn't stopping nobody. And then against the Chiefs, you're just lucky that Dak and them could outgun the Chiefs the whole time because the Chiefs kept scoring. But also, if you look at the teams in that 3-game stretch, the Chiefs are not the same Chiefs as they are in years past. We just seen that. Like, they just
Yeah.
literally crumbled this past week. The Raiders are no good. I mean, if you watch Philly, beat them, then you know that. And outside of that, the rest of our wins, I mean, think about the Giants on week 2. We thought that was just a crazy game. We made Russell Wilson look like Seattle Russell Wilson. He's literally, saying to the gods, I'm back. And then guess
Yeah.
what? 1 week later, he's benched.
Yeah. I don't think we held any teams other than the Eagles to under 26 points all season.
I mean, I think maybe the Raiders and the Jets, but look at those. Look at those teams. Look at those
Well, I mean,
teams.
the
They're no
Raiders,
good.
they don't even count as a
No,
pro
are
team
they an
right now.
NFL team right now? No, they got their own issues, serious issues, rebuilding issues. But yeah, I mean, you're looking at here. I mean, Chicago got 31 on us. You had 24 week 1, 40, and then you had 40 again. Then you had 22 from the Jets. So actually, you're not wrong. There's 21 there. 30 from Carolina, 22 from Washington, 44 from the Broncos, 27 from the Cardinals. The Raiders had 16, and that's the lowest we've had all year. So Eberflus's defensive scheme has not held anyone under 10 points at all. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So even in these games where you're like, wow, man, we had a chance, we won. Yes, I am a homer for the Cowboys. And I was on Twitter and I've been talking to my friends and I'll be posting pictures in group chats. Like, I'm going to ride or die it. So yes, I was like, man, this defense has potential, which it does. But when you're looking at Matt Eberflus and evaluating his season and looking at his scheme, he has not provided you anything that makes it special or anything. You're like, man, let's go. This guy has real potential once he gets some offseason talent around him to do the job. And he may go elsewhere and do it, but I don't think with the talent you have in Dallas in the secondary that they had built from before with Dan Quinn and Zimmer and all that, it's built for what we're trying to do. I think it's built to be played man, and I think our players are built to play man, and that's where I'm at. So,
do you think this defense is worse than last year?
yes.
I agree.
Last year, we were injury prone. I mean, and even then, you had good stretches with Zimmer. I mean, you had good stretches. It's just one of these things where I don't know, dude. I don't think Eberflus bringing him back is solving things. I think I'd rather take a risk on trying to teach everyone a new scheme and then figuring out from there what do we got to do to get better. And I think you bring in some better depth for talent on defense and you draft a couple young guys to, maybe a safety or something. And you say, let's run it back. It can't get worse. That's Cowboys fans. It cannot get worse for you. So,
yeah, I just think it's all about the mindset of the defensive coordinator. I think that is the biggest problem.
Do you think?
I mean, I think if Eberflus wanted to run an aggressive offense in man,
yeah,
I think he knows how to do it. You don't have his experience and not know how to do that.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's the kind of defensive coordinator he is.
Yeah.
And that's what we need.
Yeah. And obviously, I don't know, dude. It's such a tough question. And if we were any normal fan base, like I even re-quoted on Twitter, when I think the Jets fired their defensive coordinator, and I said, Jerry, it's time. And I get it. Jerry knows we're probably out of it. Jerry knows that it just hurts you more to let him go rather than let him fish his contract. Plus, Jerry loves to make sure that people do their job and not give out free money. So I think you should let him finish the season. I respect that decision. But what I will not respect is bringing him back. I think it's just a lost cause. It's like bringing back Mike McCarthy the last year that we had him. You're just you're bringing back somebody that you don't respect already. The fan base doesn't really want to see him again. And it was a risk reward kind of thing coming out of Chicago with the bad reputation that he got with the coaching or the head coaching job he did there. And this time it just didn't pan out. It panned out well with Dan Quinn, and it's just not panning out well with Eberflus. Fair?
Yeah, I agree. I think that just about wraps that whole situation up. So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting to kind of see what all happens. There's some opportunities here with these last 3 games. We're playing for pride. We got some people I would love to get an opportunity to see what they can do for next year. But I'm going to be taking a hard look at every player, every position. I want to know who really has something because we got a lot of talent. We got a lot of youth out there. I want to see Kalen and Chevelle and all the young guys.
Speaking
Stewart
of that,
and all that, I want to see them all. But I can already name at least 3 players on the defense I do not want to see next year.
Let me show y'all this. So, did you see the injury report that came out today?
No, I did
obviously, I don't know if you can see this, but basically, they're really looking to activate everybody who's on IR, or at least opening up their 21-day windows, which I know there's only 3 weeks left in the season, so they may be just opening them up so they can practice. But we got guys that are like Phil Maffa. I know you've been talking about Izzy, but we still got Phil Maffa on this roster. We got Payne Turner, Trayvon. We don't know what's going to happen with Trayvon. They may let him play the last 3 games now to see if there's any trade value worth in him, or they may sit him and just say, hey, we're going to cut our ties with you. You got Josh Butler, whose window's opened. You've got, I already said Payne Turner. Let's see who else is on here. I think that's it. Outside of that, now you do have guys who didn't participate, like Deron Bland, Tyler Guyton, C.D. Lamb, Hunter Lupke, and Quinn Williams. So I don't know. They may be looking. I hope they play everybody. Just as a fan, I like to evaluate our talent at all times, but they may start looking to, roll some guys back, our bigger stars, probably.
Yeah, and I get that. It's a tough thing. I don't want to see
I totally did
anyone.
not. I totally did not add that to our screen, but yeah, there's
Yeah,
the
it's up
injury
there.
report right there.
Yeah, it's up there now. Um, I just want to see. I want to see some action. I want to see. I don't want to wait till next year until we're in training camp. To start thinking about players that we already
Yeah,
know are not cutting the proverbial mustard here. So it's like, let's sit them down and let's try
yeah,
somebody who is down the depth chart, who is another homegrown guy, and give them an opportunity and a chance to go out and prove themselves. Hunger and heart and hard work. A hard work guy can sometimes do a little bit more for you than a guy that's just talented but
yeah.
incompetent.
This is
You know?
random, but I saw
Yeah.
this on Twitter today. Some people are saying like, well, let's see what we got to film off of because on the off chance that Javonte Williams, let's say he walks in free agency because someone's willing to pay him a ridiculous amount of money. Because
Right.
obviously, let me ask you this, and
Sure.
we'll get more in depth in this as the season goes on, the off season. But what is our number one priority this offseason? Is it George Pickens? Like, is it like, if you had to choose, like George Pickens has to find a way to come back, like, or whether it's franchise tag or re-signed, or what do you feel like is the biggest number one like to do list?
And it's a really tough question, Slater. I've thought about this a couple times. I
Yeah,
really need to look and kind of see what is coming up for the year as far as expiring contracts and
yeah,
where we're at. From what I can tell, just by glance, we're in good enough shape that we could do what we want to do. I would assume.
yeah,
Um, yeah, ideally, I would want to keep Pickens. I think he's done very, very well for us.
yeah,
But I also feel like Flanoy has proven himself, and I think we still have Mingo, and we've got Tolbert and Turpin. They're not
hmm,
Pickens. I'm not saying that they can fill the role, but if Pickens were to want some crazy amount of money that would keep us from doing, I guess, okay, here, I'll make it simple. If paying Pickens keeps our defense mediocre,
don't do it.
that worries me.
So this is just what it says online, but let's say they offer him 4 to 5 years, 120 to 150 mil, that would be averaging about $30 million a year. You do it? Too high or too low? I mean, not really. I guess the question is would you do it or too high
And 30 mil a year for 5 years,
for 4 years?
for 4 years.
You could do 4 or 5. I mean, it and when
I
in the
mean,
biggest.
I think I take that deal.
Yeah, and the biggest thing about doing a contract rather than a franchise tag is going to be how you can spend that money all at once, right? Like you said, like you don't want it to hurt your defense, but we could push that cap hit to hurt you on the back end of his contract, like we have Dax right now, rather than on the front end. So you're not wasting that 30 million. You could say, hey, we'll turn some of this into sign guarantee, and then we'll push it out to the end of your contract, and then you get your defensive guys to kind of because at this point I think you can kind of retool and make maybe a run, right?
Yeah, I really like Javonte Williams,
Yeah,
but if it's like Pickens or Javonte, obviously I'd want Pickens. I think you can find another strong, bigger back to do what he's done behind the offensive line. By no means is he expendable in my mind. I would
yeah,
love to have the same unit with a little more, a little bit of a bolstering back next year, from the start of the year together. That would be wonderful.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pickens would be obviously the priority. And then I would love to have Javonte Williams back as well. I think he's done excellent. I think he likes being a Cowboy. I like seeing him as a Cowboy. So my bigger concern is we can do whatever we need to do to get to obtain and keep those players as long as we have something left to contribute to at least 4 to 6 players on defense, because that's what we're going to need. Because
You're talking about
there's some guys that got to go.
yeah, you're talking about starters and depth.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there are guys that have been here a while that just aren't contributing enough to stick around anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
And we have guys that have been second and third on the depth chart for a couple of years now that I think can do a little bit more if they're given the opportunity.
Yeah.
So it's like it's just time to just rotate the lines here a little bit. You get a
Well,
couple really good draft picks and you just plug some holes and you get an aggressive, like-minded defensive coordinator and you run this thing back,
yeah.
you know, with Quinnen and Osa and Kenny. And I would love to even see if he can Clowney come back for another year. I know it's a long shot, but like the Dante Fowlers and the Sam Williamses and the Bells and all those, the Sanborns and the Kenneth Murrays of the world, it's time to up jump the boogie,
Yeah.
skippity doo dah, you know.
No, I agree. I think when you're looking at from a talent perspective, I definitely think that, like Jerry said, he said in this quote, right? Like, if we could have gotten this help sooner, we could be in a different situation. We wouldn't have so much pressure on us. But, I think you have a really good chance to spin the wheels and really make this a good offseason. I know we kind of say that with every offseason, but Jerry has shown, at least with this season, that he's committed to trying to build a team around Dak. He got the offense in sync. He's got it clicking. Schottenheimer's got it clicking. Get some lineman depth just in case we have injuries to the tackle position, because obviously it hurt you in Minnesota when you lost Nate Thomas. And then outside of that, we got to revamp this defense, whether it's all veterans like Clowney. Look at the Steelers. I mean, they brought in, I know Darius Slay was gone, but they brought him in to start the year. And then they brought in Jalen Ramsey. No one wanted Jalen Ramsey, but the
Yeah,
Steelers were like, we want that veteran talent, that veteran presence. The guy
yeah,
knows what he's
they're
doing.
smart. They're
And
not
I think,
full easy, and they know
yeah,
when to play outside of the scheme because
yeah.
they're not stupid.
Yeah, and I think that's where we're at. Instead of trying to get this homegrown defense, we did it on offense. Let's just get some veterans. Let's build something that can get you to the mid teens on overall defense. Like, if we can be top 15 in the defense and we're top 5 offense, man, we're going to win some
Man,
games next
speaking
year.
of the
We're going to,
Steelers, man, that Queen is a hell of a linebacker, dude.
dude. The Steelers are,
I'd love to have that guy or one
man,
like him. So
I,
hey,
yeah,
you brought up something that intrigued me a little bit.
yep.
How do you feel about seeing some Joe Milton in these 3 games? And the
Uh,
reason I ask is because it's a big controversy right now. Everybody's talking about Joe Burrow and thinking it because he's injury prone a little bit, and it's 3 meaningless games, and you know do you play that guy or do you leave him on the bench? And it's like it's a tough question because these guys are professional football players, which means they are paid money to deliver at their job, and their job is to perform in sports to the best of their ability from week to week. Right? That is the objective. If the company's not doing well, you can't just not go to work
yeah.
and expect to get paid, right? Essentially. So it's at the same time, it's like, do you run your best guys out there on offense and defense, your big stars, and risk them getting an injury that impacts next year? It's kind of a tricky question.
I think you do it for the next 2 weeks. I could see it the last week, maybe flipping that switch and saying, "Hey, we're gonna give Joe Milton and all them the run." But I think the last 2 weeks you need to finish strong, especially when you're looking at a team culture building kind of thing. Personally, you can't ever prepare for injuries. You can't try to like prevent them. So people, and I think about it from a fan's perspective, and I always think back to some. I think maybe it was Kobe, but there's been a lot of athletes who have said this. People pay good money to come watch y'all. They've got these tickets that they've been holding on to, whether it was before season or bought them during mid-season or bought them a week or day before. Like, they pay good money to come see you. And the last thing that I would want as a fan is for I to pay these really nice tickets these last 3 games. I got some really nice seats, and I'm really excited to see a team that I've never seen before in person. And Shy's like, oh no, we're gonna bench him because we're trying to
You're
tank.
holding the clipboard. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's and I don't believe in tanking. I don't think any team should ever tank. And I'm thinking about it from a fan's perspective. I understand from a team perspective and from like a team building perspective that, hey, week 18, we need to sit our guys and let's let our backups play and let's figure out what talent we have. That's a different story. But like, if you were to turn it off the last 3 weeks, I wouldn't respect it.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think that's their job, and they should always compete. I think it sets a bad image and doesn't look good if you're out there, kind of phoning it in. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I
I
mean,
want to
I
see
don't know
what
if
you
they
can do. I want the team to improve, and the only way we can
yeah,
improve is to show what we can and cannot do very well.
yeah.
So I think this is you're giving yourselves 3 free games of evaluation in the best learning environment possible for
Yeah.
next year. It's a head
And
start.
it's like what the Giants said in Hard Knocks, that temporary head coach that they got in there right now. He's like, you're playing you're playing for your job. They're at this point, the Giants front office is not looking to try to make a push or anything. They're evaluating talent. Yeah, they're ready to blow it up, but who's gonna stick around? Who's gonna have a job next year? Because for Cowboys fans, if you're new to kind of watching football and watching team building and stuff, those group of men that are in that room all watching film together and, in these team meetings, they'll never be together again. It will never be the same group. It always changes. And that's how football is. Football groups always change. So, those guys have to work together to help each other out, have a good finish to the season, and prepare for next year.
All right. So last question for you.
Yep.
Who are you rooting for in the
Between
playoffs for the
for
rest of the
playoffs.
year?
Sorry, I was like, if it's Cowboys Chargers, I'm rooting for the Cowboys.
Yeah,
Like
clear it.
no, yeah,
But
no.
we're not going to the playoffs, so who are
Ugh.
you watching?
I'm a Baker fan. I love Baker. So if Tampa gets in, I'll probably be rooting for Tampa. I don't think they have enough to do it. Um, Sam Darnold and the Sea Chickens is an interesting choice. That's a team that's been, very. I would love to see Darnold pull off the story. Now, if the Colts and Philip Rivers somehow pull off getting in the
Oh, that
playoffs,
would be awesome. Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
be rooting for the old man coming back. But honestly, this is a weird choice. But looking at all of them, I'm probably rooting for the Steelers.
Yeah, I like the Steelers. I like Buffalo and then the Steelers.
Yeah, if Josh Allen could finally get to
Yeah, I'd
that
love to
Super
see
Bowl,
Josh
I'd love
Allen
that.
get there. And then I wouldn't mind Stafford getting back. I've always liked old Matty Staff. I really don't want to see the Bears. I really don't want to see the Lions. I really don't want to see Green Bay or Carolina.
I'd love to see
So
like a Rams Steelers Super Bowl or a Rams Bills
yeah,
Super Bowl.
so
Like,
I'm kind of on the Seahawks to see the water chickens with you, and maybe Tampa Bay. But yeah,
yeah.
just not any of the big rivals that we absolutely despise. I will boycott. I will not watch. I refuse. You can't make me. I'm not going.
I refuse, but all right. Well, I think that's gonna do it for us. I know this probably turned into more of a Matt Eberflus rant, but like always, man, we appreciate y'all, and please just keep liking, subscribing, man. This has been a good season for us, and we appreciate y'all's support. If there's any off-season content you want to see, just let us know. And until next time, this is the Cowboys game plan.